Hey, it's Ray, Chubby Ray Comics. I don't collect single issues. I collect trade paperbacks and I collect omnibuses, and I love them, and I love talking about them, and I love talking to them with you and finding out what you guys think. So let me know, like, comment, all this stuff. But let's get into the book. Let's get into the last 7 books I read. Last 7 books I read, plus a rare thing for me, a single issue. So we'll get into it. Let's talk about the last time I read. I did a review of this one, Rise of the Superwoman. Rise of the Superwoman. This is Josh Williamson's Batman book. I loved it. I really enjoyed this book. It was very good. I enjoyed especially the art. Dan Mora took over as the artist on Superman, and his work is phenomenal. So that was my favorite part of this book. So Rise of the Superwoman, I gave that. It was a great book. I gave that a 4.5, I think. So that was a good book. Venom Deviation. This is the second book from Al Ewing's run. Now I really enjoyed the Donny Cates run that came before this. I mean, I was a huge fan of the Donny Cates run. I bought the Donny Cates Ryan Stegman omnibus, and I bought Absolute Carnage omnibus, and I bought King in Black omnibus. So that's how much I loved the Donny Cates run, and I was hoping that this run would be just as good. I was very excited about getting it. It's written by Al Ewing and Ram V. And let me say, the Al Ewing stuff is pretty good and straightforward. But Ram V, as much as I like Ram V, this might be controversial, but as much as I like him, he's responsible for every confusing part of this book. Anything that's confusing or unclear, that's Ram V. The art's very good. I mean, Brian Hitch does the art, and it's fantastic, and this has got Kang in it, and there's a whole time traveling thing with Eddie Brock. And I don't know, it's just not that good. It's not as good as the Donny Cates run. I'm going to continue reading it because I'm eventually going to get the Venom War, but when you compare it to the Donny Cates run that came before it, it is just nowhere near as good. So that's my thoughts on Venom. Let's see, here's another book I read, and I loved this. Another Joshua Williamson book. This is Robin, Streets and Shadows. I got to tell you, this Robin series that Joshua Williamson did is so good. Now, it was part of, if you've ever read Batman Shadow War, it does intermingle with that. So I just loved this book. I think this trade paperback was fantastic. I thought the Robin stuff in it was fantastic, but let me just say, most of this stuff is in Shadow War. So if you really want to read this and you really like Damian and you really want good Robin content, I suggest getting Batman Shadow War, which I highly recommend. I think this book is fantastic, but all the stuff's in there. It's all, the Robin stuff is in both. So I just suggest getting Shadow War so you get the complete story. But I really liked this Robin series that Williamson did. I think it's extremely underrated. I thought Robin was great. Connor Hawke's in it. There's a lot of stuff outside the Shadow War stuff that's good. I highly recommend it. However, if you just want the Shadow War stuff, buy the Shadow War book. It's fantastic. So there's my advice for that. Okay, let's get to the next things I read, which were Wolverine. I love, excuse me, I love Benjamin Percy's Wolverine. This is volume 6 and volume 7. Volume 6 is Wolverine versus Beast. Now, Krakoa is not kind to Beast. He goes crazy, and he ends up fighting Wolverine, and it's nuts. And it's not just Beast; it's Beast and Beast clones versus versus Wolverine, and there's Wolverine clones in it as well. It's a good story, but if you're a fan of Beast, I don't know how much you're gonna like it. But I read this, and I'll give you the reason why I read to where I read in just a moment, and it makes sense if you're an omnibus collector like me. So the Beast Wolverine stuff is good, and that is in volume 6, and then volume 7 is Wolverine versus the Incredible Hulk. But it's like this Wolverine chapter 7 of the Benjamin Percy series is like Marvel 2-in-1 starring Wolverine, because it's Wolverine and the Hulk in the first part. Then it's Wolverine teamed up with Captain America. Then he teams up with Captain America. Then he teams up. I'll show you the people he teams up with. Here he is with Captain America, which is really cool to see him and Captain America together, because they're so different styles, but they're friends, and it's when Wolverine and Captain America are together, it's very good. And then he's with Black Panther, so you get it's Marvel 2-in-1 starring Wolverine with Black Panther. At least that's how I describe this book. And then at the end, the last story, or the last part of this book, is Wolverine teamed up with the wonderful Nightcrawler, the wonderful web crawler, Spider-Man. It's Wolverine and Spider-Man in the last book. So your guest stars in this book are Hulk, Captain America, Black Panther, and Spider-Man. I really, really enjoyed volume 7 of the Wolverine by Benjamin Percy run, and I loved it. And I read these books 1 through 7, and this entire series is fantastic. By the way, this would make a fantastic omnibus. Marvel Comics, if you're listening, this would be a great omnibus. And I read chapter 7 because chapter 8 starts the Sabretooth War that's coming out on June 24th. It's coming out in omnibus, and I'm getting it, so I'm all caught up with it. But Marvel, we need an omnibus leading up to the Sabretooth War of Wolverine, and I hope you're going to make that happen. All right. I give those are both 8 grades. All right, let's also get to X-Force. I read X-Force. This is volume 4, and I enjoyed this. Another book to enjoy. However, there were some parts I didn't like. The first part was good with Wolverine going after manslaughter. And then the middle part, I don't know what the hell's going on in the middle part. There's a weird thing in the middle part, and then it ends with Wolverine taking on there he goes, gets manslaughter. But it ends with Wolverine getting a surfboard because he wants to surf the Krakoan waves. And it's got to go with a mega kid and a baby. And someone steals a baby, and there's a baby napping. And Wolverine has to go looking for the baby. So X-Force, it's good, then boring as hell, and then really good at the end. That's how I would describe chapter 4 of the X-Force by Benjamin Percy series. I love it because it's Percy, but that's what made me get through the middle, was the Percy stuff. Was because it was Percy. But it was not as good. It was not as good as his stuff usually is. All right, last but not least, Green Lantern, The Power of Will. I don't know why they made this book. I really have no clue. Well, it's Jeremy Adams. Jeremy Adams is great, but this book's gonna go in the eventual Absolute Power omnibus, because all of these issues mix with Absolute Power. And in fact, Hal Jordan's not even in his costume. He's not even in his costume because he's captured, and you know it's all mixed with absolute power. So and every single Green Lantern issue is like that. And then they also fill it with other issues, like the 0 Hour 30th anniversary issue. Which, by the way, 0 Hour 30th anniversary thing was actually pretty good. I enjoyed it, but I don't know why it's in a Green Lantern book, except other than the fact that Kyle Rayner is sort of the star of it. So it was cool seeing Kyle Rayner starring in something, but it should have been a lot better. That's my thoughts on this book. So I've been impressed with every Jeremy Adams Green Lantern release since the beginning. I've been very impressed with it, but I was not as impressed with this. Although I did like the 0 Hour 30th anniversary issue because it was Kyle Rayner, and he was trying to stop Parallax, and if you read the original 0 Hour, and it's also got the Legion of Superheroes villains, the Fatal Five, and I'm a big Legion of Superheroes fanatic, as you guys know. If you follow my videos, you know I'm a big Legion of Superheroes nut. And I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed seeing the Fatal Five. And then Lyle Norg, who was the original Invisible Kid, who died early on in the Legion of Superheroes run. Lyle Norg died in, like, I want to say the late hundreds or early 200s of Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. Lyle Norg died, and they brought him back for this issue. So it was actually good seeing him again because I was a fan of his. And that was good to see him. But other than the 0 Hour 30th anniversary, this is crap. Jeremy Adams stuff is well written, but it made me want to go back and read Absolute Power again. So, you know, I just take the Green Lantern issues and put them in a Absolute Power omnibus. It makes more sense than to waste a paperback with this. That's my thought. So it's good, but you just read it and you go, why? That's the thought that goes in your head while reading these books is why? Why do this? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. So those are the books I read. And, and I did read a single issue. Batman Hush Part 3. You guys who don't like Hush, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I don't know what I love it. I think it's great. I think the Jim Lee art is fantastic. And now he was messing with Jason in the last issue, and now he's messing with all the Robins. So I gotta tell you, I love this. I love Hush too. So I don't know what you guys are talking about. But anyway, I'm Chubby Ray. Like, follow, comment, and thanks so much for following me, and keep watching the videos. I hope you all have a great day. So long, everybody.